Hey there, nerds. We're back with another episode of Alpha Nerds. I don't remember what episode number we're on, and I feel like we gave up on that a while
We did.
ago
We did.
because it's it's hard to track that shit. It just is. Like somebody, like one of us should have probably written it down, probably me, but like since I usually do the show notes, but my ADHD kicked in and I just can't be bothered to remember what episode we're on. So that's the unique spin we get here. But I am joined by my main man, always 10 toes down co-host, the mustache man himself, Sets Like Us. How we doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great. I shaved today for November. Every November now, shaving, and I feel like I got a proper duster right now.
That's a good one.
It's a Ron Swanson stash. That's what I like to say.
I gotta get on shaving. I just like my beard was starting to grow back in like normally, and I was like, now I gotta shave because I did a goatee for like a week, and like this is no good. I can't do a goatee. Can't pull it off.
I walked outside today and I was like, oh, my chin's cold. It's a very scary experience the first time it happens. It's like,
yeah.
Not used to this.
I'm a big fan of Movember. I used to do it consistently, and then I just like got lazy and just didn't want to keep. And I also get razor burn. Like I have sensitive skin there, and I'm just like, dude, it sucks. So
yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Movember, or those of you participating in No Nut November. Some would say if you participate in both, you're well on your way to No Nut November if you have a mustache, but we'll see. But other than that beautiful duster, how we doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's my weekend off. Went and got some more paints for the Warhammer minis today. And yeah, gonna dive into that after this. Really, really getting sucked into the Warhammer hobby. So
yeah.
My house has been turned into pretty much a Warhammer factory since Caitlin's doing the same thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's fucking shit everywhere. Paints everywhere. And paint brushes and figures drying. And
so here's what we do. We clear out that spare room you have and we make that your Warhammer factory.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean,
that's probably the move.
Right now it's halfway turned into a Pokemon nursery for Caitlin. But I don't know when that's going to be finished because neither of us have had any motivation to finish it.
No, they're too busy painting figures. I mean,
and then I also ripped the wallpaper trim off of my kitchen, so now there's just like sticker paper up because it split in half when I ripped it, and I don't know when I'm going to get to that either because that's going to be just the biggest pain in the ass. It's going to be messy and disgusting, and
yeah,
fuck it. I'm not trying to impress anybody.
No, but sometimes like when you sometimes you see a lot of projects, you can see a direct correlation with someone's ADHD. There's a lot going on. A lot going on there. But
in my kitchen that was half finished for a year that I finally got all taken care of. So
yeah. Hey, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I was going to say the other opposite, but that would make no sense. But yeah, I feel like the Warhammer bug has bitten all of us in like very different ways.
Yes.
And I find it very interesting.
Yes. Well, Watson is dipping his toes into the minis, and I talked to him yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm just going to collect an entire army and build them all at once, and then paint them all at once." And I'm like, "No, buddy, you can't do that. Is
he an insane person?
Well, yeah, he is. Honestly, and I'm like, you get a few at a time, build them, paint them. Because if you get all of them, I mean, you were talking 40, 50 miniatures. You're going to be completely overwhelmed.
Yeah. You got to just slowly like accrue what you want over time. Because like I told you, I was going to eventually dip in because I think I can figure out the strategy part. It's the painting for me that's going to be bad.
Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and it's very addictive. It's very fun. I'm having a blast with it.
Yeah, but you're also not colorblind, so like that's always
fair.
That's
fucking fair.
That's like the big ticking time bomb for me because like what's gonna happen is I'm gonna paint one of these figures wrong and then I'm gonna fucking snap.
Well, just choose one of the chapters that doesn't go with your color blindness, like a yellow or a red or something.
Yeah. Also be a salamander. What are you trying to say?
Salamanders are green.
See. But Yeah, so I think once I dip my toe into that, it'll be fun, like setting up nights where I'm assuming you just do, what are they called, sorties or skirmishes? Like I don't really know what one calls them in Warhammer.
Yeah, I think it's like a game, like a skirmish.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. But yeah, I've been super into the novel. I've been like listening to the audiobook of Iron Storm, which has been really good so far. It's like an 11-hour book, which is kind of wild, but we're gonna slowly work our way through them. I listen to them on my drive to and from work, so it's like how I like
Nice,
put a nice dent to it. And then like sometimes when I'm on the treadmill, I'll hammer out a chapter or two. So
nice.
yeah, it's good stuff. I really love the lore of Warhammer. There's so much lore, or excuse me, a 40k. Yeah, because I'm sure there's a whole fucking thing to get into with the Age of Solar, or whatever the hell his name is.
Sigmar, Sigmar.
Sigmar. See something Mar. Age of Magmar.
Sigmar.
Speaking of the TC of Pokemon, I didn't know there was a TCG, like, because you had mentioned Caitlin's Pokemon Nursery. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
know there was like a TCG mobile game.
Oh yeah, I am very vehemently against the TCG. Now, I've very much fallen out of Pokemon in the last few months, mainly because of Pokemon Go, Niantic's like super greedy way they're monetizing Pokemon Go,
Yeah.
and I just don't like it. Um, but the TCG is, it's the classic Pokemon card game.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. But then you make it digital, and I just don't trust it, Pedro. I just
Yeah.
don't trust it. Like we've seen the gotcha games before,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know how atrocious the
I know what
pull
you're
rates
saying.
are and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And all this that's all this is. It's just a gotcha game. And people don't realize it. Like, oh yeah, you're pulling packs, just like you pull packs in every
Yeah.
other gotcha game, right? And it's like, I don't trust it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Also,
So,
there's your collection's not worth anything.
no,
That's the thing. Like, people like pulling the rare cards, the expensive cards, and it's just I'm
not the
not
same.
I'm not a fan of it.
See,
But
for me,
this
I
is
just like I've always wanted to play the TCG. I never played it even as a kid.
oh,
So like that for me, that's what interests me. Like just the actual playing of the game, like not the collecting of the cards or
yeah, I
anything
mean
like
that's fair.
that. Yeah.
That's totally fair. Now one thing I will say is that this just kind of bleeds into my theory that Nintendo people will buy literally and do literally anything Nintendo tells them to do. They're like
Yeah.
zombies. It's actually quite impressive what Nintendo can do, and the fans are just like, yo, this is you just don't get it. It's revolutionary, bro. It's just like Apple.
What?
It's like Apple people.
Revolutionary? Who?
Yeah,
No.
dude.
Uh,
I just want to reiterate. Nintendo just launched an alarm clock.
New hardware, maybe.
Yep.
But you know what? Part of me with Nintendo kind of respects the fact that they just stand on business with whatever they do. They're just like, you know what? This is what we're doing. That's it.
They're
It's like,
just
oh,
like Apple.
yeah, like, oh, you want to switch to? How about Xenoblade X in 25 in
Yeah.
March? How about that? Like, we'll tell you about Switch 2 when we fucking feel like telling you about Switch 2. No leaks, no fucking nothing. Just is there a Switch 2? Maybe. We'll tell you when we're damn good and ready.
Maybe we'll fucking cancel it. Fuck off.
Maybe there
Eat
won't
shit.
be a Switch 2. Or like, you know what? This is why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? We just keep the Switch. Not like you guys not like you won't buy Nintendo games, assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they run like shit, you're all gonna buy them.
Yeah, so I was like, dude, when they announced, like, I was excited they announced Xenoblade X because like I was literally we had just done side banter and like sure as shit, fucking an announcement. Like we were talking about the game stranded on Wii U and like that being one
Mm.
of them, and then sure as shit, like a week later, fucking it gets announced. But I just was like, when they say March of 25, I'm like, when, like, at what point are we gonna like really start discussing this next console here, fellas? Like,
Well, Nintendo is gonna create games for both consoles forever. I mean, don't forget
they
that.
would
Like,
have to, yeah.
don't forget the 3DS was like drowning and dying, and they released Black 2 and White 2 on the DS. Like they're completely insane when it comes to that stuff. Like, dude,
Oh
like if
man,
you remember the first year of the 3DS, it was
piece of
done. It was
shit.
like
That thing was
it was
fucked.
over.
Yeah,
Like, that thing was dead on arrival until they dropped the price. But in that dying period, they released a new Pokemon game on the old system. Like
yeah.
like absolute maniacs.
They're like, oh, it's backwards compatible. You can play it on it. I was
Imagine
like,
the
how was it
world.
this in development?
Imagine the world we live in if Nintendo hadn't slashed the price of the 3DS a month before the Vita came out.
Yeah, the Vita
Like,
would be
I think the Vita would
would
have
have
killed
killed
it.
it.
I really do. I think that the Vita would have been great.
Yeah,
I bought a 3DS and didn't buy
I
a
bought
Vita.
one as well. Yeah, I bought a 3DS and bought it and did not buy a Vita until the OLED model came out.
Well, the OLED was the first one.
I thought was it the first one?
The Slim was the shitty one with the bad screen.
I bought a Slim then. I had the shitty one then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I bought a Vita, but I bought a Vita used like way later, like months
yeah.
later.
In fact, I have had two Vitas. Like I bought a Vita, like the Slim with the shit screen when it came with like the Borderlands one.
Mm-hmm.
I had that one, but like famously I don't like Borderlands, so I like bought mine with like the Borderlands edition, but I bought mine with like Danganronpa,
Mm.
and which was a great game. And then I don't know what happened to my original Vita, and then now I have a Japanese blue Vita, and that's my main one.
I had a white Vita, and then I forget what happened. It had a huge scratch in the screen or something, so we returned it
Ooh.
and got a new black one.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I ever got another Vita. I may have, but I have a Vita TV right now in my room that was given to me
Mm.
by Alden.
It's good. That's a good come up because those are worth a pretty penny.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's also like one of the best ways to play the PS3 classic PS1
Yeah,
games. You
correct.
know, I mean, that's why I wanted one. The actual Vita games, I mean, there's a couple on there that are worth getting into, but
Yeah, but you don't want to play those on like your fucking TV. Like won't look good. But yeah, no, I here's the thing with the Vita. I don't really understand why Sony didn't support it. Like that's one of those mysteries that I would, if I could ever just be in a Sony like headquarters, like I would ask, like, what was the deal with Vita? Like the PSP they supported, PSP sold well. People love the Vita. Like I don't think I've ever heard anyone say the Vita is a piece of shit or anything. Like you never hear anything negative about the Vita. So I'm just like, I wonder what the actual sales number of that thing was.
I mean, I don't. It doesn't look like we're ever gonna find out. But I would like to know too. And we just recently found out that our buddy Watson had a Vita. That was news to both me and you.
Yeah,
And it turns
rad
out
Vita.
that I did know that Watson had a Vita when he first got it, apparently in like 2013 or whatever it probably was. Because he's like, yeah, you know what killed that for me? You told me to get the worst game I ever played called Freedom Wars, and I'm like, whoa, okay, back up, pal. If that's the worst game you've ever played, you've been living a pretty good life. All right,
Yeah, Freedom Wars is a pretty good game.
yeah. If that is the worst game you've ever played in your whole life, you're welcome because I've led you on a pretty good road.
Yeah,
Um,
right. It's a pretty good recommendation, to be honest.
and then I opened his cartridge port, and sure enough, Freedom Wars was in there. So that literally was the last game he ever played.
Oh, he still has a Vita.
Mm-hmm.
What in the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Oh,
Pretty
that
crazy.
fucking guy. Yeah. Man, it's almost like he just does things we don't understand. Like, tell us to play PvP so we can check on his kid. But anyway.
Dude, he got mad about that.
Yeah, he was not happy. Shout out to Watson. We love you, but you're weird. Moving right along. So, what have you been playing, my boy?
Well, but I'm assuming we're going to talk about Space Marine 2 here a little later, here a little bit when you can talk about your games. But other
Yeah.
than Space Marine 2, I started up Persona 5 Strikers, and I did that on your recommendation. I was like, well, me and Pedro were both afflicted with the same Persona sickness. So maybe I'll give Persona 5 Strikers a try. And so far, I'm not that far into it. I'm a couple hours in, but I'm really impressed. I'm actually like mind blown at it's like they literally ripped 80% of Persona 5 and put their own gameplay into the dungeons. But the rest of
Yeah.
the game seems to be exactly down to like the minute detail of the environments and the way the characters move. Everything seems to be like very very faithful, and I don't understand how that works cuz it's a Musou game and they have their own gameplay system that Omega Force does, but they somehow put it into the Persona 5 game. I mean, like when you're playing it, it's literally outside the dungeons Persona 5. And I
Yeah.
don't understand that. It's very strange to me how they pulled this off. I would love to, and I would love to know. And that's truly unfortunate because we're never gonna know, because for some reason no one does journalism in the video game industry about
No.
stuff that actually matters. Like, hey, how did you guys make this game? How was the development of this game, you know, finished and stuff like that? No one actually talks about that. They just talk about social politics in video game
Right.
journalism.
Yes.
But it's very good. It's very good. And um it's not giving me that sick in the stomach feeling like Persona 5 does, and Persona 5 Royal. But I'm liking it so far. I'm not sure how I feel about just carving through massive hordes of enemies yet, but I did fight the first boss, and I thought that was pretty good, pretty neat. It's the giant ram enemy
Oh
thing,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and yeah, you just pretty much got to dodge him and hit him. But yeah, so far, big fan, big
Yeah,
fan.
no. I like I said, I was blown away by the same thing you were. Like, I was blown away by how seamless it felt, and even the Musou combat. It only applies when you get those random hordes, but it doesn't feel like it's super ham fisted. It feels like a natural progression. Like when I imagine fighting with a persona, I could see it going that way versus the actual turn base. So it's doesn't really bother me that much. The only thing I'll say is be mindful of how you do your combos. Don't abuse the persona abilities, because what you'll run into is SP is a bit of a problem if you do that.
I have already noticed that.
Yeah. So
Yep.
you got to use SP conservatively. Um, but even though later in the game, I had to literally change my personas to make sure I had coverage. I wasn't weak to this, I wasn't weak to that. I nullified this. So it's the same principle. It's just it's basically an action RPG persona, which is a little mind boggling.
Hmm.
But story's really good. I think if you end up finishing the game or getting deeper into the game, there's certain characters that you're going to encounter that I think you're going to. There's one I think you're going to really like whenever you encounter them in the metaverse. So yeah, because when I saw that character, I thought this is somebody Seth would pick. So
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Can't wait.
also shout out Yosuke. He's a fucking savage in that game.
Oh yeah.
He's literally the strongest one. If you look at their stats, he does literally the most damage.
Wow.
And yeah, he's your physical tank. So yeah, so shout out Persona 5 Strikers.
Yeah, I'm having a blast with it so far. Music,
Yeah.
top notch, just like always.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. For me, and I guess, and we'll get into it here in a second, but I've been playing mostly Yakuza 5. I kind of once I finished Strikers, I was kind of well, what do I want to do next? And I hadn't really found anything that I wanted to get into. It was kind of in that weird, I don't know what it is. After I finish a game, I'm kind of I don't know. I struggle to get into something. So usually that's when I'll go back and pick up something that I dropped a while ago. So I picked up Yakuza 5 because I was like, you know what? I've been ignoring the Yakuza series for a while. And it started when I started watching the Yakuza Like a Dragon show on Amazon, which
Mhm.
holy fuck. And, I'll fucking talk about it right now. That show, when I saw that the people oh, we didn't play the game, I was like, all right, maybe it could be a fresh look. But I thought they would stick to the source material a bit.
Oh no.
And,
Why would you think
and
that?
well, because that would be logical. Okay, let's set up the plot, or I don't know. I just would make the most sense. But because literally not new fans are going to go in. Anyone who was going to watch that show as a fan of Yakuza, they're a fan of it, so they want to see the live action adaptation, because for some reason we still fall for these things. But literally with Kiryu, they started out like it's fucking Fight Club. He just loves fighting. That's what he always wanted to do. His dream was to be the Dragon of Dojima. I'm like, okay. And then they make Kazuma to be this he's an old Yakuza. He's a Yakuza hitman legend.
Mhm.
But they make him out to be this old washed up has been, and they fucking that the Dojima clan fucking talks to he's a fucking pigeon. And then Dojima, like the character they cast as Dojima, looks like nothing like Dojima, like at all. So after that first episode, I was like, oh boy, and I'm just like, I kind of want to watch ahead to see who they cast as like Majima, like how they, because that's who my favorite character is. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna be insane. But that led me to like, okay, like I need to wash the taste of that out of my mouth. So let me play like an actual Yakuza game and like fucking get it right. So I jump into Yakuza 5, and it's better than 4, which isn't saying much, and it still has the same problem that 4 has, where I think you can't do more than 2 protagonists. I think that's the limit. You can't do, because like I always say the reason I hate Yakuza 4 is like basically this similar reason why you didn't like 0,
Mm-hmm.
where like you'll start getting into something that'll pull you out to go to Majima. And in 4, you play as Kiryu, Shin Akiyama, he's some dude who runs the Sky Finance, Saijima, and then I can't remember this other fucking dork's name. There's some like random. I can't even remember his name. It was that he was that irrelevant. And then in the 5th one, you play as Kiryu, Saijima again, the little girl Haruka you play as, and then you play as the fucking finance guy. And then there's a 5th dude who just popped up who's like a sex journalist apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, he's just there. Like I don't know why he's there. He's just there. Uh, so, like I literally just started his part, and I'm like already not feeling it. And people say his stuff is like the best part of the game, which is a little wild to me. But I will say they crammed a ton of shit into this game. Like they have for Kiryu, they have like a taxi driver / street racer side story. They
Of
have
course they do.
and then they have this like underground fighting ring that he does. Then for Saijima, there was a hunting game mechanic where like you're literally like Cabela's big game hunter, like hunting bear and deer and shit and setting traps.
Nice.
So there's that. And then for Haruka, you do the whole idol thing where it's basically DDR. And then for this new dude, he basically he like has a dream of being a baseball player, so you play like baseball.
Okay.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, just some of the shit they crammed into this game is like insane. So that's a meaty boy, but I don't recommend Yakuza 5. Which here's
So
an opinion. Are there too many Yakuza
Yakuza,
games?
yes, but Yakuza 5 came out like way before Yakuza 6, didn't it?
Yeah, like way before. It was Yakuza 5 was actually a PS3 game that like was stranded there, like late PS3,
Yeah, that's what I
and we had
thought.
to fight to get a localization. Like
That's
had to
what I
fight with
thought.
Sega about it. Yeah, yeah. Because
2015.
people don't know this. Yakuza was like on life support until until 0 and Kiwami. Like people just loved those 2 games,
Yep.
and I think it's so funny because if you tell anyone to play the Like a Dragon game, so if you like, yeah, start with 0, that's what I recommend. But you can start with Kiwami too, or Kiwami as well, not Kiwami 2. But those 3 games, like Kiwami 0, Kiwami 2, like those are the 3 top tier games. And then when you jump to 3, 4, and 5, you get the biggest kick in the nuts. Because like those 3 games, specifically 3 and 4, are just mid. Like those games are shit. And I like famously people refer to Yakuza 3 as Blockuza. Because like the combat's just not fun. Like all bosses do is just literally block and counter everything you do, where like you don't even have a chance. Like it's like not fun.
That's actually, it's funny you bring that up because that's actually why I stopped playing Sparking Zero. Well, there's 2 reasons why I stopped playing Sparking Zero. The first was that there is a significant input bug that is affecting everybody. Where like
Mm,
with it's with your special moves, like you'll jump back to use a special move and your character doesn't use it. There's like some sort of input.
yeah.
It doesn't it like there's something that's not reading correctly with the inputs in Sparking Zero, and also it's just not fun to play because they made the game so defensive. And I understand that Dragon Ball is kind of like that, where like everybody's like vanishing all the time in Dragon Ball and whatnot, but that doesn't necessarily make a good game. Like, dude, there is straight up at least 4 ways to interrupt your counter or interrupt your combos. like from somebody, right? Like there's two different vanishes and there's two different like counterattack that just are
Yeah.
like you can't stop someone from using them, right? If I'm like hammering someone from behind, they're not locked into a combo. Like they can straight up just press like R2 and circle and it just like breaks you out of your combo. And I'm like, mm, why? And then the bosses, or not the bosses, but like any of the enemies in the AI mode, they do it constantly. And it's like, and they do it with perfect timing constantly to the point where like no human could do this. So it's like very, very annoying that it's not fun to play. And I don't know. I got over Sparking Zero very fast because of that.
That hurts because you were excited for Sparkling Zero.
I was, and like I said, between the input issue with the special moves and just the very defensive focused gameplay, I'm like, this kind of sucks, dude. Like vanishes, vanishes. I think the best game that did them was Budokai 3 because in order to vanish, you had to block and move the analog stick towards the opponent, and you just pop behind him and knock him away. And Sparking Zero, you can vanish in the middle of a combo, you can vanish special attacks, you can vanish ultimate attacks, you can vanish two different ways, you can counter two different ways. And it's just like it's very defensive gameplay focused, and I wasn't crazy about it.
And here's my thing, because like this is the stuff that I didn't like about 3D fighters, because like this is the same reason you just described about Sparkling Zero was like the same reason I got away from Naruto as well. Like there's just too much going on. There's too much. Where I play a game like Fighter Z, it's simple and just fun. Simple fun, and there, there's deep mechanics to it, but they're nothing like unmanageable. Where like if you get the fucking key and then you gotta charge up, and then there's too much. It's too convoluted for me. I never liked the 3D fighting Dragon Ball ones, even like the good ones like Tenkaichi and Budokai. Like I just never liked them because it just got to be too much going on, and it
Yeah, and
sucks.
and I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised Sparking Zero is getting so much praise because that input issue is like so prevalent where you can't use a special attack in the middle of a combo because the game just doesn't read it. And I'm like, this is like a massive issue. And people are
Yeah,
talking about it, but there's like overwhelming praise. I think just because Budokai Tenkaichi came back and everyone was like,
just
everyone
excited.
wanted yeah, everyone was excited for it. And then I've kind of swung the other way on the unbalanced characters with the game because at first I was like, oh no, that's like pretty cool. That's like pretty sweet. Like if you play Hercule, you're probably gonna get fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
But then like you look at the competitive players and every single one of them is like Ultra Instinct Goku,
So there's no
Super Saiyan
meta.
4 Gogeta. Not at all. The characters are completely unbalanced, just like they would be in the Dragon Ball universe.
Yeah.
So there's
Which
like there's like a pool of less than 10 characters that you really, if you want to play
yeah.
competitive, are going to be able to choose from.
So like by
So
that logic is like they basically just created a bunch of characters and nobody, like they wasted their time, like because no one's gonna fucking use
essentially,
them.
yeah, essentially. I mean, you could place as someone like for instance, it was pretty funny. Hercule was like hilariously broken
Yeah.
because he was able to like charge his attacks really quickly, and people were beating people with Hercule. But him and Yajirobe were like the only two characters like that. There was a massive amount of characters like they were just completely useless in the game, and
Mhm.
there was a certain amount of charm to that when it first came out. I thought that was pretty funny. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they're kind of just like making the actual Dragon Ball game as it would
Yeah.
be if, in the anime. But then it's like the more you play it, you're like, all right, well, here's my
It takes the
15th
variety out. Yeah.
here's my 15th time in a row fighting Ultra Instinct Goku online. It's
Yeah,
like,
like that's not fun. Like
no,
and that's where like I love games where the meta constantly changes. So you look at like not that they're the same genre, but you look at like the Pokemon series.
Mhm.
The meta always just changes. Like the meta is never the same. Where I
Yeah,
think there was one instance where a guy won like the world championships, like running a team of Pachirisus, which is like actually insane. But uh, but to think that somebody thought to go outside the meta and like that was a viable strategy, so the meta had to change. I like shit like that. But yeah, I would hate like just running into the same character over and over again. There's no strategy. Well, there's strategy, but there's no like variety. It doesn't keep the game fresh. So
Yeah.
that's disappointing to hear because I thought maybe with Fighter Z being as good as it was, and then like Kakarot coming out, and then this, I thought maybe the DBZ scene would be like very healthy and vibrant, which it is, but like in a good way. Like people are
Yeah.
enjoying the games. I thought it would maybe get on Evo, but if it's not balanced, that's no good.
No, I don't see this ever going to Evo. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it was just a fun game that
Yeah.
came out for a while, but
Hmm.
I'm out.
Speaking of fun, Space Marine 2. We've been on the Space Marine fucking train for a while.
Yep. Last couple weeks.
Yeah. Now, here's what I'll say with Space Marine 2. I love the game. It's probably my game of the year,
Oh wow.
besides Final Fantasy 7. Like that, it just can't be. I can't rank it ahead of Rebirth. Like it just
Sure.
can't. And like I said last episode, I put Trails Through Daybreak like on the side
Mm-hmm.
because like just I don't know. Like if Falcom had a real budget, I feel like they would just blow everyone out of the water personally.
Sure.
But Space Marine 2, the multiplayer, I love the PvE. Don't care for the PvP that much. Not that the PvP is not balanced or we've run into any major issues or anything like that. It works
Mm-hmm.
well. It's fun enough. I don't like the lack of customization as far as the options for guns. So like if you play a Vanguard in PvP, you're stuck to having that stupid carbine that sucks. And like that essentially almost ruins that class for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I feel like the best class to play is either heavy or if you're a sneaky bitch, being the sniper because you get the camo ability. But even the sniper has more options than just a sniper rifle. But in PvE, Vanguard has the option to have that melter rifle, which is awesome.
Yes.
So I'm like, why don't I get that same? Like, I don't think it would unbalance PvP at all. Like, I still think it takes skill, like to get close enough to somebody be able to hit them with that melter rifle. But I'll say I don't like that. I'm like on the fence about the stat tracking thing because on the on one side I see it like we don't track stats, so nobody gives a fuck about your KD. But as somebody who invests time, I would like to know what my KD is and what my stats are, just like to see where I'm at. So it's like kind of that 50-50 coin for me. And then the major PP whack they get from me is with PvE, where we found out you don't get boss checkpoints, which that's a little annoying. And I'm not
That
saying like
is
get
annoying.
good or I'm not saying it from the game's too hard or like because we came up with like old school games, but as a man in my 30s with like responsibilities and other things to do, like when I take like 40 minutes with my buddies to go run through a boss and we get to the boss on the first shot and then we die because we didn't know, like it was cool, we didn't know the boss had a fucking revive phase and it caught us all off guard.
Right.
But like the prospect of us being like, oh fuck, we got to run it back. Like imagine how we all had to go to bed that night and be like, well, fuck, that was kind of a
Yeah.
giant waste of time. Like that's
Yeah.
I don't like that. That I don't like. That respect my time a little bit there.
I wouldn't mind it if the missions were 15, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, but they're
But
not.
missions could be like 45 minutes to an hour, and then we got to the final fight, and it's like, well, we all died, and it's the boss, right? So it's supposed to be difficult. So
Yeah,
generally, a lot of people are going to die
yeah,
there, and the fact that the mission's over, you failed, and it's like, well, shit, like that
like
was a giant waste of our time. Yeah,
yeah, because like
it was a pain in the ass.
when it happened, we were all like laughing, and then like it kicked us to the battle barge, and we're like, oh wow. And then, like, I don't know if you can hear my voice. I was like progressively starting to get pissed off.
Yeah, more and more.
Yeah, because I thought, like, Destiny has boss checkpoints. Hell, Final Fantasy fucking 14 has checkpoints in
Yep,
dungeons. Like I don't remember just wiping out of a dungeon. Like, now you're just done. That's it. No,
yep.
don't try again. So I'm like, yeah, that
That's
they need to
brutal.
fix that. They need to fix that. I don't know if they will, but they need to fix that.
Or
But
at
I
least
will say, God,
give you like one halfway through or
yeah,
something.
or no, I'm okay with just a boss checkpoint. Like if you get to the boss, like okay, that's your checkpoint. I'm cool with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But like don't fucking because yeah, these things do not they're not short like you said. So, But I will say I do love the PVE, like the side missions that you're essentially doing. I think
Hmm.
they're a blast. I was having a great time when we upping the difficulty was what we needed, because like I felt like the challenge wasn't there.
Yeah.
And even we upped it to, I think, minimum, or not minimum, average threat level. So it wasn't anything crazy, but
Right.
we had to definitely work together more. So
Yes.
I'm more excited to see like what the next difficulty level looks like, because yeah, we had the coordinate. I remember very much telling Watson what were we telling him last night? Do bulwark shit or whatever.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
forget what he was. I forget what I said to him. But like,
Do bulwark shit. Yeah, because he was the melee character, and he yeah yeah
yeah. So like the tactics had to change, and then like the boss fight being like exhilarating like it was, we were like, oh, this guy's a threat. We got to put him down.
yeah.
And that we had to communicate like dodge, watch your back, get ads, sharing ammo, like because before you didn't really need to like share ammo, because like you would get it in fucking droves,
Right.
but then like now you got to conserve your ammo, like. So I like it. I'm having a blast with this game, more so than I thought I would, because
Same.
when we bought it, like I thought, like, all right, we'll play the campaign, this will be a good time, then we'll be done with it,
Right.
because I'm not really a multiplayer guy. Like I stopped playing multiplayer games like a while ago, like
Right.
probably
Right.
a decade ago. But this one's roped me back in as far as the PVE stuff. The PvP stuff, I could take it or leave it. But I'm definitely gonna get the season pass. I feel like we need the season pass.
So and this is what I was telling you guys last night. It reminds me of a mid 2010s game that
Yeah,
had PvP tacked on. There's three
yeah,
maps. There's three maps. There's three game modes, two of which people don't really use.
yeah.
And the game feels like it wasn't designed with PvP in mind. I mean, the
It's
characters don't
not.
move quickly. It's not snappy. It's just it's very much like the first Tomb Raider game having a PvP mode. That's what it feels like, and I just don't think it lends itself well to being a PvP game. Now, I think the PvE mode, like you said, is phenomenal. I really think that like teaming up with your buddies and mowing down armies of Tyranids is like one of the coolest feelings I've had in video games in a long time. Like it's really phenomenal. Um, and then of course, there's another faction that comes into the game later that I don't want to spoil for people, but
Yeah,
that's just as fun when they pop up. And
yeah,
going through the campaign with the three of us was a blast. I've absolutely had nothing but fun with Space Marine 2. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the game is very much more a PvE game than a PvP game. I'm not sure why Watson loves the PvP so much, but yeah, we got to keep him happy. I guess we'll play a couple PvP matches here and there, and
it's just it's where his competitive streak comes from, because like he's it's funny as fuck though, because
yeah,
because I knew he would be one more guy.
yeah, he is. He's one more guy.
And he's always one more guy.
Yep,
Oh man, it's fucking.
he was like that when we were playing Apex Legends too. He's just all right. We got one more in us, guys. Let's go.
Oh man, all right. Shout out Space Marine too, but they gotta fix certain shit. All
Yeah,
right, getting into the main topic. So, Dragon Age Veilguard, formerly Dragon Age Beowulf or Dire, whatever the fuck they were calling themselves.
Dreadwolf.
Dreadwolf. See, God, I knew it was something like that. We were in the ballpark. But anyway, new Dragon Age came out. Um, for the most part, critically it reviewed well, but I've seen user score not so hot. And I feel like this is due to all, like I have it listed there, the blue hair in the room.
Yes.
And I want to preface this with, on our show, we are not bigots. We don't hate any fucking section of people like arbitrarily. So like we're not gonna sit here and spew hate speech in any stretch of the imagination. What our issue is when you force feed us this woke bullshit down our throats, and then tell us we're wrong if we don't like it in our like if we don't like it in a medium that like doesn't necessarily need, like we don't need you to acknowledge it. It can be there and no one cares. Like, okay, that's how you wrote the character. I'm fine with that. Whatever. But like when you beat me over the head with it and you tell me no, the game needs to be this way because of these beliefs, and then I'm like, all right, why? Like, so I already going into it, I already felt like there was going to be, because it's EA BioWare, that there was going to be this strong emphasis on like non-binary and LGBTQ. But again, nothing wrong with that as far as like if that's what you believe in, but it has to be done tactfully, in my opinion. That's all I ask. Do it tactfully. Make it make sense, right? So, how do you feel about some of these clips that we've been seeing where it's so ham-fisted?
Did you see the one I sent you today, which was
No, I haven't
way
looked at it yet.
worse? The one that I sent you today was literally that character sitting down in front of her mom, telling her mom that she's non-binary. It was like a dinner thing where she like sat
Yeah,
down with her, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, no one wants to play this. This is not like the people that are writing these games are doing so just to push their beliefs forward and use it as an opportunity to push their beliefs forward, because they're missing the whole point of a fantasy. Dragon Age is a high fantasy game. The
yeah,
point of the point of high fantasy is to not be based in reality.
yeah,
That is the whole point. No one wants to be reminded of reality when playing Dragon Age. Like that is the whole purpose of this game's existence. So when I see when I see clips like this, I'm immediately like, nah, I'm out. I'm good. And by the way, completely in love with Dragon Age 1. I am a Dragon Age
yeah,
Origins huge super fan. And I thought Dragon Age 2 was fine, kind of boring. And I thought Dragon Age Inquisition at the time was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I haven't gone back and play it since, because every time I go back, I'm reminded how badly it's aged. But when I saw all these clips coming out from Veilguard, I was like, no, man, I'm not into this. I'm good. And I watched Mr. Matty Plays review of it, and I was like, no, no, I'm not into this game. I refuse to give these people any money. Um, and I'm honestly a little disgusted that like this is the last shot for Dragon Age, and they couldn't just shut the fuck up, right? Like we can't just have fun. I think I've said that before. Like, can we just
mhm,
have some fucking fun with a video game? You can't just shut the fuck up one time and let fantasy be fantasy. There was no need for any of this to be put into the game, and I just wish that like you could have just let the game be fun, because this started a long time ago with like
yeah,
people realized that like the top surgery scars were in the game, and like you couldn't the moving the boob slider did pretty much nothing, and like you couldn't really like create the character you wanted to, and that caused controversy. And then the art direction of the game caused controversy, and like the Kunari, which used to be like these big brutal fantasy creatures,
yeah,
now they're like humanoid and weird looking, and people got their claws into this game, like you said, the blue hair in the room, and they morphed it into, because these people just live on Twitter and they don't have an ounce of reality in them.
yeah.
And that's truly unfortunate, because Dragon Age used to be really, really phenomenal, and we waited for a long time for this game. And to see this series bastardized in such a way is a really hard thing to see.
Yeah, and here's the thing though, because like I remember in older games, like there were characters that were gay, trans, not binary, but they were that was the character. Like they didn't. There
Yes.
was no like. I just feel like there was no emphasis on this is what the narrative needs to be. And even look at like games dating way back, like a game like Streets of Rage 2, like Poison famously is trans. And that's just who that character's been. That's the history of that character.
Was that
And
canon? I thought that was a fan thing.
no, it's canon. It's and it was confirmed by the creator. Like and the way if you look at their bio, it's always been written that way. So it's like it's not an issue that like it can't be in the game, like or even like Last of Us, Ellie or yeah, her name's Ellie, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not crazy, but like she's a lesbian, like you know what I mean? Like characters can be LGBTQ and it be fine, and their beloved games are and their beloved characters. So like, it's not that it's a bigoted issue or we're low tolerance of this.
Hmm.
It's just when you beat it over the head, and then like you have characters like in a high fantasy game sitting there talking about non-binary, where that wasn't really a thing in like that's not really fitting of that setting. But even though they can be gay, but it's just not something they're like just gonna. They're just they acknowledge what it is. It's just who they are. So it's just I don't know. I don't like that ham fistedness. I don't think it's right. Like I don't think it's what we want as gamers, and I don't think like I don't see why there has to be such an emphasis on like hammering it home that this is what it needs to be. Like the fact that there's a scene where a character misidentifies somebody and does 10 push-ups for it. I'm like, why? Like why is that scene written that way? Like what message are you trying to tell me? Like what are you trying to tell me as a part of the story? Like why does it need to be there that way?
Dude, I'm telling you,
And yeah.
you got to watch the clip I sent you today. It is so much worse than the one that I sent you the other day. Like the one today, I could not believe it was actually part of the game.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
So I don't know. And even like the Mass Effect games, like you could as a shepherd, you could romance the male characters. Like so again, it's just not that you can't be, you know, gay or LGBTQ, like that's not
Mhm.
the issue. But like again, like I just feel like there has to be some sort of self-awareness that like people aren't going to respond well to bad writing. Then that's the issue. It's not a bigoted issue. It's just bad writing. But with Dragon Age on Metacritic right now, it's sitting at an 84 on Metacritic, but the user score is a 3.8. It's like generally unfavorable. So and
It's pretty rough.
so I don't know which ones you take with a grain of salt because like do we take people just review bombing and stuff like that? But I'll read a couple of the user reviews that don't have spoilers in them that I'm aware of. Um okay, that one's in Spanish. That one's in Spanish. So one of them is combat becomes repetitive too quickly. Conversations with companions become cringe too fast. Agenda is throat fed to you. Would not consider touching again, even if it's free. So,
People are sick of it, dude.
yeah,
People are really sick of it, and I don't know what they expected.
yeah. So I don't know what's going on. All right, hang on. We're gonna pause real quick. So yeah, people are tired of the ham-fistedness in the writing, and we just read that review. Another review would say, where was it? Woke dumpster fire. What the fuck were they thinking? How can they release such a thing on the unknowing public? The game is such garbage. Refunded on the same day. Another one. This cannot be overstating. The writing is absolute garbage. Possibly the worst writing I've seen in a game. It's like the game was written by 12-year-olds. All dialogue is straight up disposition or literalization. No nuance, no depth, no subtlety. It feels like no subtlety. If this feels like Pixar meets Avengers family movie, it's ridiculous. The team who is responsible for the vision of this great game are creatively blind, deaf, and dumb. The dark fantasy atmosphere of the Dragon Age series is nowhere to be found. The mature characters, story beats, and choices have vanished. The brooding music, sense of foreboding is gone. Everything that made Dragon Age unique and special in the fantasy genre has been replaced with watered down piece of garbage that is afraid to take any risks whatsoever. I find myself literally cringing, shaking my head, and sighing the words, "This is terrible," during almost every conversation. As stated above, I cannot overemphasize how bad the writing is. It is truly terrible. As for a social commentary, puke. Not now. I am not opposed to social commentary in games if it's smartly written and implemented, like I just said. They personally liked how a certain character became very likable. I don't know who Dai is, and and they said who they rooted for in their journey, as they have trans friends. But in Veilguard, my God, it's like the game just serves as a canvas for the creators to vomit their personal grievances into media to push a very obvious and cringe-inducing political stance. It's rammed down your throat in the most disgusting way possible and never lets up.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's and apparently now again, I
So it's
haven't
not
played
just
the
us
game.
saying this.
No, apparently it's not even with like the social commentary. Apparently, like everything is like very juvenile, and they explain things to you over and over again in the story, and they're like, I was watching. You know who Moist Critical is?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, he's like a really funny streamer. He was streaming Veilguard, and I was watching a little bit of it. And the character, because you apparently you release like these elven gods in the beginning of it, and the characters constantly are saying, "Yeah, these elven gods that we released, and now they want to kill us." And then they say it like 4 5 different times, that exact segment of words, like in the same conversation. And he's like, "What the fuck? Why do they keep telling me? I get it. Like, we
Like, I get it. All right, all
yeah.
right.
Like apparently the writing is just like extremely juvenile, and like it feels like it was written for children. Um, but this game has not only created a divide in like the larger gaming community, it's also very divisive in the Dragon Age. Like if you go to like the Dragon Age subreddit, people are like
Yeah.
bickering back and forth over this game and like the writing and the characters and the combat, and it's just, dude, this is another Starfield situation where the game is reviewing very well, but it seems like the greater population of people just do not like the game.
Yeah. So
Just not a fan.
and I think I know the answer, like what your answer is going to be to this question, because I think it would be my answer. But is it not jarring to see like the discrepancy with between the critical scores and the user scores, where it seems like the user scores always skew one way, and the critical scores, like the people who are supposed to be like, trained to critique games from a, I guess, a an artistic level, seem to all, when it's games of a certain narrative, just seem to all kind of like, oh no, this game's great, but then the users are like, nah, this sucks. And so I always wonder, is it the right, is it the reviewers or the user, like who's wrong? And I always feel like usually it's the reviewers.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty clear in a case like this. I mean, the reviewers are all super leftoid Twitter brain, people, and they will give something like Dragon Age a high score just based on social commentary. Like I don't know if you saw Kind of Funny's review of it,
I
where
don't watch none of their shit.
Greg Miller was literally like, "Yo, if you're a bigot, you're gonna hate this game. This game is woke and it's diverse and it's awesome." And I'm like, dude, you are such a phony fucker. Like, I was there 10 years ago when you were making abortion jokes, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that is just the larger gaming journalism community as a whole. Like, you're asking, like, is it weird? Not anymore, man. It hasn't been weird for the last decade, at least. I mean, these type of things they're just happening left and right. I mean, people lost trust in games journalists a long time ago, and now
Yeah.
you rely on like your buddies or word of mouth, and that's how you get your game recommendations. I do not look at IGN articles for anything anymore. So
No. I mean, yeah, the only time I use IGN is really when I'm doing the show notes, like just kind of see what's being talked about. But yeah, uh I don't know. I don't really look at people's reviews anymore on sites. Like usually if it comes from somebody I trust, like if it's a friend or we're pretty big LSM guys on this show, I would
yeah,
say. So usually when it, like, I'll listen to like what LSM thinks about it, because they, and Second Wind, like Yahtzee, I like him a lot. But yeah, just because something is woke, which again, I can't wait for that term to die off, but just because something is woke doesn't mean it's good. Like being woke isn't something that like needs to be a point of something to be proud of. Like it's one thing to be like, yeah, I don't want to be insensitive and I don't want to offend people. Sure, there's nothing inherently wrong with that thought process. I'm never going to sit there and tell you, yeah, you should always think to offend people or not give a fuck. Like if you're like that, that's you. But most of the time, you're gonna struggle in social interactions. Like that's just the world you live in right now. But on the other side of that coin, like if you're somebody who's gonna attack people who don't agree with you because you feel like you need to stand on an issue and attack their character and be offended for people you don't even know and things you like really are speaking on that you know nothing about because you haven't lived it, like I struggle to take those people seriously. Like I really do.
sure.
Because even like let's say you are fully woke, right? Like you support trans and the LGBTQs and all that. Like until that's how you identify, you really genuinely can't empathize with how they feel about anything. Like it's just one of those things. Like I don't get why we always are quick to just I know it's Twitter, so I know it's like a very vocal minority, and that's the most annoying part.
Mhm.
But like I just don't get like why like, oh, I'm woke, it's a point of pride, like you need to adjust to me. Like no, you need to adjust to society, because you're looking at you're seeing like people reject you left and right. Like there's nothing hated more in, I guess, in my echo chamber. I see it everywhere that people fucking hate woke. Like it's so, people are so over it
Yeah.
that like people straight quit hobbies over it. Like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's what happened to me with Dungeons and Dragons. Like I love it. I still do, but I will not I will not engage in the greater Dungeons and Dragons like like stuff anymore. I don't go out looking for games or anything because it's just like it's a nightmare, dude. I think I told you in the last podcast about like the new D&D
Yeah,
thing. And I'm just like,
dude.
dude,
Even Happy Console Gamer quit D&D.
can't we just be fucking normal? You
Yeah.
know?
No, let's play D&D naked. Oh, I'm being fucking whatever they said, like sexualized. Well, yeah, no shit. People ask you to play D&D naked. They just want to see you
Yeah.
naked. Yeah. So, yeah. So going on to the last part of our Dragon Age topic, the Maddie issue.
Mhm.
So I didn't look too far into it. I saw his tweet, and then I saw somebody else tweeting that like an alt account from somebody who was like, who they accused it of being Maddie at first, which I don't understand. If you look at his content, and if you like, we've met Maddie,
Mhm.
like he literally does a podcast with Cog, uh, who is like a minority. Like Cog, I believe, is Puerto Rican, or I'm pretty sure he's Hispanic. Um,
I thought
so
he was black.
I think he's Hispanic or black, one of the two. He's from New York, and again, not that I know Cog all that well, so again, forgive me if I'm misidentifying his race, but he is a minority, and and he's on Defining Duke with Maddie, and they've been working together for literally years at this point. So people were accusing Maddie of having like a racist alt account, and they were also accusing Maddie, I believe, of leaking footage, like breaking NDA,
Mhm.
because the leaked footage was the Maddie's character from his review footage.
Mhm.
But the fact that people were like trying to drag Maddie's name through the mud over something that like clearly he had no control over. Like I believe he showed footage to one of his editors, and then through one of his editors, it got leaked on like a Discord or some shit like that. I'm
Yeah,
not exactly.
one of his editors was in a Discord with the guy who had that account, and then that guy grabbed it and reposted it because he seemed like
Yeah,
an immature idiot.
yeah, and then like people were then, I guess because he's associated, like I don't understand, like because he's associated with LSM, that like, and Colin, like how it ended up being this whole mess. And I forget who the Twitter user was that leaked it. I know that all accounts since deleted, but there was a user, I forget his damn name. Um, I guess that his name doesn't matter. I don't want to plug his name anyway. But he was like basically saying like, oh look, fucking Maddie and associated with a racist alt account. Clearly he's a racist. I'm like,
Mhm.
and I read that, I'm like, how do we get there? Like, how do you get to that based off what exactly?
Just because you want to be the next thing that people are talking about. I think that's pretty much it.
But it's just wild that like then out of nowhere, like all these people like, oh, now it's time to attack Maddie's character and say he's a racist and all these other things. I'm like, you don't even know him like that. Like how you like, where you get off saying somebody's a racist? Like what has Maddie ever said that's racist? I would show me the clips,
Right.
show me the footage. I want to see it.
Right.
Show me the tweets that he said, that Maddie has put out, that Matt, you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things, like, and this is not even like a defending Maddie thing. It's just like the principle of it. Like I genuinely, because I went through this with the completionist too. Like I genuinely fucking hate when these keyboard warriors just like out of nowhere go attacking people's character that like they don't know. Like I'm one, if somebody tweets something and I think they're full of shit, I'll tweet it back at them like, I think you're full of shit based off what
Mhm.
you said. But it's based on your actions. So if it's like, if he was putting out content that was like maybe suspect, or he was putting out content that had alternate messaging that like you could maybe see how, oh man. But like the fact like we're gonna really paint Maddie in a picture that he's just like fucking raging closet racist. Same thing with Colin. Like people say Colin's a bigoted racist when he like his wife
They're
is
just
African
idiots.
American. But I get like I don't understand how people really think this way. Like I don't understand how in the game space that we just don't have any fucking sense. Like I don't get it. I don't get it, and it will to this day always fucking perplex me. I don't get it. These cannot be normal functioning human beings. But are we also going to sit here then? Is everyone in the game space just mentally sick? Are we just a space of mentally ill fucking people?
Yeah,
Like,
I guess. I mean,
like
it just I think Maddie went about it the right way. He really didn't get involved too much. He made a statement talk like refuting it, and then he
yeah,
moved on with his life. And that's how you have to do it, because these people mean nothing. They don't know anything. They're just idiots. And they're just trying to get the next big thing. Like Colin, I don't know if you saw Colin's statement. He's like, you guys are doing
no,
this all for like attention and upvotes. And it's just like Maddie seems like a genuinely really good, decent person. And for people to even assume that he was involved with this, like racist account, come on. You guys are just being idiots. And then we have this Grums guy, right? Who
yeah.
tried to
I
leak
have his
this.
tweet right now.
They tried to leak this like completely manufactured NDA. And don't get me wrong, like I've definitely agreed with some of the takes Grums has had about like the greater talk, but this guy is just he's such a complete moron. And to go off and attack and drag Maddie when he was down, and try and first off, Maddie's review was scathing on Dragon Age Veilguard.
Shit all over it. Like
And then to leak this NDA as if like Maddie was under contract to say how good the game was. It didn't even make sense. And also, I don't know if you listened to Sacred Symbols this week, but like
no,
Colin
I
shit
haven't had
all
a
over
chance
this
to.
NDA, and there's literally a cursor in the
Yeah,
top left of the NDA that was supposedly real. Made everyone that like retweeted it and whatnot look like a complete moron. And it's just like, God, man, this
it,
whole situation is so toxic. Like you
yeah,
can you can just be normal. You can get off of Twitter and just be normal. If you don't like Dragon Age Veilguard, vote with your wallet and shut the fuck up. If you want to buy Dragon Age Veilguard and you jerk off all over the ideology that's pushing on you, more power to you. Just shut the fuck up. Like I'm
right.
tired of hearing about it, and
Yeah,
and
I agree.
you don't need to drag people like Maddie because he agrees or disagrees with your opinion on it.
Right.
You know, that's how I feel.
It's no, I'm with you 100%, dude. Because like I read this dude's tweet about it, and I'm like, yo, like how are you gonna make up a fake NDA? Like how like that shouldn't be legal, and that's one of those things. Like I wish like you could sue people for fucking slander on social media because like that's fucking like you faked a legally binding document and then tried to pass it off as like actual information, like that this man broke a contract that he was like, come on now, like how is that legal? It shouldn't be legal, and I wish that like you could just literally get lawyer up and have somebody at the door. Hey asshole, like
It should be able to be a suable thing.
because one of my favorite things like about Dave Portnoy, see the owner of Barstool Sports, if he says something, he'll stand on it.
Hmm.
But if he is being slandered, I love it when he fucking makes dicks out of people in court. There's like a very famous clip of him just making an asshole out of a lawyer in court over something that like
It was
the
over the
lawyer
Michael
thought.
Rappaport thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like that. I love that, and I wish more people had that type of energy. Where like all right, yeah, let's talk about it in court. Let's do it because like this is fucking wild. Like yes, so a special alpha nerd. Fuck you to that Grums guy. Like that's fucking insanity.
Yep.
Like that's dude, like fuck all the way off. Because and again, I'd be saying this like it's not even a Maddie thing. It's just like the principle of it. Like you should literally be banned from being in the game space of any capacity after putting that out.
Yep.
Like
I agree.
no, that your credibility shot, bud. Not that you had much to begin with, but
Yep.
that's fucking wild. So I'm gonna move on before I blow a gasket. All right. Anything in closing on Dragon Age? I also am reading that Veilguard thankfully isn't getting DLC.
No,
Allegedly.
hopefully we can move on from Veilguard.
Well, I mean, I Mass Effect. Ah.
I just want Bioware to die. I'm over it. I want
Yeah.
them to stop shitting all over the name that made them money. Like,
Yeah, Bioware used to mean something. Now it's like this fucking woke trash. Like, dude, I can't. And honestly, if you think we're bigots after this conversation, then fuck off. Like, don't listen to our content anyway. Like, it's just,
I'm okay with that. Whatever.
I'm fine with that too because I'm, dude, like, we're not here for that. Like, I
Yeah.
just like do not fucking. Ugh. All right, so getting into the underbelly, I found this list of the 22 best turn-based JRPGs of all time ranked by the Gamer. Now, you prefaced this with telling me the Gamer tends to skew a certain way.
Mhm.
Um, so, and I think that'll just show through what we go into here. So we'll start by prefacing the list. So this list was updated as of September 10th of 2024, so fairly recent, allegedly. And we'll just get right into it. So number 22, Earthbound, a must-play cult classic.
Okay.
So the way they describe it, while most JRPGs are set in a fantastical world you can only dream of, Earthbound is much more down to earth. Oh, I see what you did there. It's inspired by the United States in the 1990s. Its protagonist Ness being recognized by his signature baseball cap and bat. When a strange meteor crashes onto his house on Onett, Ness finds himself on a journey to stop the alien Gygas, helped by his party members Jeff, Paula, and Pooh. Pooh. I've never played Earthbound, so Earthbound's turn-based battle system is fairly straightforward, but one thing to note is that your party's health bar works on a scrolling system. Okay, that would piss me off. So you may have time to heal up your party before their health bar goes completely zero. So basically, if you get tagged with an attack for 50, like your health will slowly scroll down, taking that 50 points, but it gives you a chance to heal. If you're fast enough, no, I mistyped that or misread that. So if you're looking for a classic but quirky JRPG, Earthbound may be for you. Thoughts?
I like Earthbound. I never played it. I like what I've seen of it.
So you agree with it on the list, though? That's it.
Yeah, I think Earthbound deserves a spot on the list. Top 20s.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, 21 we have an issue. But so 21, Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
Then it's described as Final Fantasy's best love story. Final Fantasy X is an excellent turn-based JRPG with a great story and its characters characters to back it up. The story follows Titus, a blitzball player who was originally from Zanarkand but is whisked away to Spira by an entity known as Sin. In Spira, Titus meets Yuna, who is destined to go on a pilgrimage to summon the final Aeon and defeat Sin. Not only does Final Fantasy X have a touching story as you get to know Yuna and her guardians, and as her romance with Titus blossoms, it's turn-based combat. I can't read today. Its turn-based combat is fun and satisfying. The game's Sphere Grid allows you to unlock various spells, attacks, and abilities, so you can customize each party member and the role that they'll perform in battle.
I mean, I need to see what the rest of the list looks like. I don't agree that it's the best Final Fantasy love story. I think that lies solely with Final Fantasy 16. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
you could even make several other arguments with like Final Fantasy. I think pretty. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I think Titus and Yuna's love story is pretty terrible. I
Yeah,
would
I think
even go as far as to
I would
argue
take
that
way
like,
better than that one, personally.
I
Like,
would even go as far as to say like Cloud and Tifa's is better. And that's
yeah.
pretty messed up because they're
Mhm.
just they're more complicated. There's no I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I would see. I don't know if I consider Final Fantasy X an all-timer of anything. To be honest, like I don't think it's
see,
that type of game.
my problem with this is by putting Final Fantasy X on this list, we also have to have 7, 9, 4, and 6.
Yeah.
There's no way that you can put Final Fantasy X on this list and not have those other
Right.
games somewhere on this list above it.
Yeah, that'd be sin. I guarantee you they are because that'd be a little crazy, but maybe
I
they're not.
guarantee
We'll see.
you. I guarantee you, not all of them are.
That'd be wild.
It's
All right, number
specifically
12.
four. Specifically four.
We'll see. Number 20, Octopath Traveler 2.
Haven't played it.
A stunning HD2 or HD2D JRPG that takes inspiration from the classics. Like its predecessor, Octopath Traveler 2 is a retro-style JRPG with stunning HD 2D visuals and 8 new characters to follow. You can pick the main protagonist, complete their prologue, and collect their remaining cast members to participate in their quest. Mechanically, Octopath Traveler 2 is similar to its predecessor, but the story and character development come together more cohesively and the characters are more engaging and relatable. The turn-based combat is terrific, forcing you to think strategically and use timing and tactics to find an enemy's weakness. It can take a bit of guesswork to figure out their weakness, but you should click with the mechanics after a few hours of gameplay. I would say Octopath Traveler. I guess that name in general. I don't know about all time, but I will say it revived the 2D HD genre. So I would say that it
The
gets
first one did for sure.
yeah, it definitely gets its flowers there. But I even remember with the first one specifically that people didn't really like the story because of the 8 guys.
Very disconnected. Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't
and then
played.
the
I
name's
haven't played it.
terrible.
I haven't played it. But again, I have to see what else is on the list. We're still at like we're still at 20, right?
Yeah.
Could it find its place in the top 20? Maybe. I mean, the rest of the list is going to have to be a pretty banger list, you know. So
See with this list though, there's the things we expect at the top of the list, like that are
right,
have to be there. They can't
right,
not be there, and that's why, like, I do and I don't like all time lists because they're fun debates to have. But then there's like things that are just like non-negotiable.
right.
All right, so number 19. Here's literally another one. Golden Sun. Not that these are bad games, but Golden Sun, a handheld classic that stands the test of time. Golden Sun launched in 2001 for the Game Boy Advance and later for the Nintendo DS, but the last game in the series was Golden Sun Dark Dawn in 2010. Though the series has stagnated, the fandom remains ever ardent in their love. However, there is hope that the classic was made available on Switch Online for service for subscribers. The game features a silent protagonist and a unique magic system that utilizes creatures called Jin or Dijin or Jin. Not only do characters have special powers and summon abilities, but they also have psi energy, aka magic, and other unique abilities. The game features elemental lighthouses, world-ending dragons, and even a mythical civilization, Lemuria. Now, Golden Sun, those were great RPGs. I played a little bit of them, but they are famously done by the former Shining Force developer. I think it was Camelot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are great games, but yeah. So, any
I don't really
thoughts
have
on
anything
that?
to say.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah,
I played them. I liked them a lot when I was a kid, but
yeah, but would you consider them like memorable in that aspect, or just kind of
yeah, I think they're good. I remember really enjoying them as a kid. I couldn't tell you anything about the story or anything, but
yeah? That kind of
um,
my feelings on them. Like they were fun, but I don't really remember them.
mhm, okay.
All right, number 18, Legend of Dragoon, which I agree with. Like a few others on this list, Legend of Dragoon is an iconic classic in the JRPG realm. I agree with that. It puts you in the role of Dart, a warrior trying to stop the end of the world. It was originally launched in Japan in 1999 for the PS1, but it stands out as one of the most classic JRPG experiences. The game has 3 play modes: the battle screen, the area map, and the field. Okay. The Legend of Dragoon world was explorable with lots of discoveries and NPCs to chat with. The game portrays a vulnerable protagonist when Dart is saved from a dragon early in the early stages of the game by Rose, a powerful female warrior who's one of the best characters in the game. It may sound silly, but by today's standards, but Rose felt like a breath of fresh air in the 90s. If you got tired of the usual supporting roles of female characters were often so relegated to, the Legend of Dragoon keeps the combat interesting with chain attacks and counters. The Dragoon ability transforms the character and imbues them with special attacks and magic. So, Legend of Dragoon, Seth.
What are they talking about with Rose?
I don't really know. I mean,
That
maybe
that
she.
is that is not true whatsoever when we're talking about JRPGs specifically. I mean, there first off, Rose is a supporting character.
Yeah,
She's not the main character. Dart's the main character. And if we're talking about like JRPGs, there's almost always like extremely relevant female characters.
that were powerful and like
Yeah,
not
I
good.
mean that makes no sense. It doesn't hold up to scrutiny whatsoever.
Yeah, I feel like they broke that trope in games way early. Like, look,
especially
the fucking
JRPGs.
yeah, dude, Fantasy Star, literally Fantasy Star on the fucking Sega Master System. The main protagonist was a female.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that statement doesn't even hold up to a slight bit of scrutiny whatsoever.
all right. Number 17. Actually, real quick though, I do love Legend of Dragon. I've come to love that game. I originally hated it, but when I replayed it, and I didn't finish it, but I replayed a fair majority of it and really enjoyed my time with it.
Okay, good.
I I am shocked that this has not gotten a remaster or remake.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
I don't know. I mean, it's a very large game. Legend of Dragoon is long, long,
Yeah,
long, long.
but I think so. I mean, I feel like Sony would be able to have the chops to do it. Like, I feel like I don't know.
I've
I
never
just think.
beaten it.
Oh wow.
No, I got to the third disc as far as I ever got.
You remember with the fucking disc games when you had multiple discs, you're like, ooh, and for a meaty game,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more discs, the better. And then like as we got older, you get multiple disc game. You're like, oh, woof.
Holy shit! Take it easy.
Yeah, yeah. All right, number 17, Fantasy Star 4, the most polished single player Fantasy Star game. That is not saying much. Uh, launched in the West in 1995. Fantasy Star 4 is a futuristic science fiction JRPG that even breaks today's mold of typical Tolkien-esque fantasy-based games. The fourth and final entry is the most polished before it became a MMORPG on the Dreamcast. Incredibly, it features a turn-based combat system reminiscent of Final Fantasy XII's Gambit system. While not as complex, you can stack commands and program the characters with the macros mechanic. If macros were combined in certain sequences, this would initiate special moves and techniques.
You're the Fantasy Star guy. What do you think
I
of
mean,
it?
there's a couple things in there that are. I mean, yeah, of course, it's the most polished one. It was the fourth one in the fucking series, so yeah, it should be the most polished one. But Fantasy Star 4 is great. It's a great game. I've played about like 10 hours of it, but immediately off rip, you can see with that game the switch in philosophy. So like Fantasy Star used to compete with Dragon Quest. Like that was really their main competitor. But then when you play Fantasy Star 4, you can see that the Final Fantasy effect had come where like, oh shit, there's a new daddy in town. Because this game has dialogue and it plays fast and it has just like these quality of life features that are very reminiscent of a Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's great. Music's great. And honestly, this game, you would always see it like when you look at the greatest JRPGs of all time, it's always like lumped in there with Chrono Trigger and like Final Fantasy, and it's always like in that orbit and not ahead of them, but it's always like around them, and I can see why. Like it really does fit. Like yeah, so like yeah, this game deserves more flowers. I think more people should play it because it's really of the 16-bit era. It's like every bit the banger that those other games are. So yeah, shout out Fantasy Star 4. You ever played a Fantasy Star game? I don't think you have.
Nope. Only online.
Do yourself a favor, only play 4. That's really the one anyone should play. Fantasy Star, like the first Fantasy Star is like the novelty is cool. Like you see what like Dragon Quest in space looks like basically. Fantasy Star 2 is a grind heavy bitch. Fantasy Star 3 is the black sheep of the series, and I can see why because if you watch some of the Alpha Nerd videos, I think I did a couple updates on it, like little shorts updating it, like my progress through it, and the music of that game is awful, like just genuinely awful. I if we wouldn't get like taken down for playing clips of their music, we would do it on the show, but it's like so ear grating and bad. I had to play it on mute.
I think I remember you playing these games.
Yeah,
It was in the last 10 years or so, right? Like
yeah,
you were playing through them. I thought so. I thought
yeah,
I remember playing them.
yep. All right, number 16, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, the classic turn-based action in a modern setting. Launched in 2020 on Xbox and PlayStation systems, it may seem a little early to rank Yakuza Like a Dragon as amongst the best ever turn-based JRPGs. However, despite its modern setting and characters, Like a Dragon combines its already beautifully established world with traditionally turn-based gameplay. Like a Dragon's combat system is closer to Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and Sega classics like the original Fantasy Star series. The surprising move into turn-based combat fits perfectly with both its wacky characters and gritty street gang elements. More importantly, if you're a fan of classic JRPG story, content and character development are up there with some of the best in the genre. I have never played this game, so I don't really have an opinion on it.
I think me and you need to play this game. I've played maybe 3 hours of it, and I really liked what I played. Um, I get Earthbound vibes from this game, mainly because the game doesn't seem like it makes sense because you come from the action heavy Yakuza series into the Like a Dragon series, um, and it makes more sense when you come to realize the character is a giant nerd, right?
Yeah,
And he views himself, he's like a giant Dragon Quest nerd. So it
yeah,
makes sense from his perspective that these combat encounters are turn based, and he views himself as like the hero, and like these people as like the monsters and whatnot.
yeah.
I've never heard a single bad thing about Yakuza Like a Dragon. Does
So
it
here's
deserve to be number 16 on the greatest JRPGs of all time? I I would be skeptical of that.
yeah. Here's the thing. When they had the stylistic change to Yakuza, I was like one of those old heads that like vehemently hated it. I'm like, what the fuck? But when I think Nagoshi and the team talked about it, like I was listening to like a developer commentary on it, and they're like, yeah, it started off as a joke, but then we thought about it. Like Kiryu's this one man army, this one man wrecking machine, where Ichiban isn't. Like you said, he's a giant nerd, but like he's just like they didn't want to write another Kiryu basically. So they're like he would need support to get through some of these encounters that Kiryu would be able to do on his own. So Kiryu, because like Kiryu was like this fucking legend.
Right.
So when they spun it to me like that, I'm like, okay, you know what, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I changed my view on it. But I'm excited to play Like a Dragon. As soon as I finish Yakuza 5, I'm probably gonna start it.
Cool.
Yeah, but I don't know if I think I'm with you there. I'm skeptical of 16 on an all-time list. Just like I'm skeptical of this one. Maybe I'm not. 15 is Persona 3 Reload. So I'm assuming they're just saying like Persona 3 15, which
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine.
yeah, that so giving it's a terrific remake that modernizes a classic. Persona 3 Reload is a big budget remake of the classic PS2 original that helped the series transition from a niche JRPG series to the mainstream hit thanks to its character interaction story, social sim mechanics. Moreover, the modern day setting where the game puts you in the shoes of a high school student that was a departure from the chosen one type hero in a fantasy setting. It's a JRPG that is identifiable whether you're still in school or left many years ago as an adult. The turn-based combat in Persona 3 Reload has improved significantly. You can still issue commands and control all team members. You must approach battles with a tactical mind and find an enemy's weakness using attacks powered by the party's persona abilities. The combat is fun and compelling enough to keep you hooked through trying to climb and conquer the Tartarus. Thoughts,
Okay,
Steph?
so I here's my thoughts. From now on for the rest of this list, let's just read the opening because we're gonna be here all day.
All right, sounds good.
All right, because we know what these games are
Yeah.
anyway. And it's not like they're justifying their choice; they're just
No, they just
describing the
got it
game.
randomly. Yeah.
So here's what I think. I think Persona 3 has the best story out of all the Persona games. I think it has the best characters out of all the Persona games. Um, and I think that since Persona 3, they have shamelessly copied the characters in Persona 3. And I think that is so clear. I mean, um, you can draw lines directly from each of the characters from Persona 3 straight to Persona 5. From the main character to it's been so long since I've played the Persona games, but then you got like your main love interest, right? That goes straight across. Then you got like your best friend character that goes straight across. Then you got
Yeah.
like the smart girl, right? That goes straight across.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay. Um, I do think that the darker tone of Persona 3 is more interesting. I mean, these kids are literally shooting themselves in the head to some of their personas, and the first scene is Yukari like struggling with pulling the trigger because she's scared, right? And I think that's like a really interesting concept as opposed to like in Persona 4 when they're just like ripping the cards or whatever it is. They're cards, right?
Yeah.
In Persona 4?
Yeah. Yeah. Tarot cards. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like the concept of the dark hour and Tartarus, I think that's all way more interesting than what we get in Persona 4. Persona 5 is a closer contest for me because I really like Persona 5 and I think like stealing people's hearts and being the Phantom Thieves, I think that's a really, really stylish and cool setting. And I have to say also, they clearly just copied Persona 5 with Persona 3 Reload
Yeah.
and pretty much just made Persona 3 Reload into Persona 5's like modern menu style and so I think what they should have done, I think in my mind it goes Persona 3, 5 and then 4. And there's a large gap between Persona 5 and Persona 4. I understand why people like Persona 4 so much because it was the first one they played and it was their introduction to the series on the Vita with Persona 4 Golden and whatnot. But like for me and you, we played Persona 3.
Yeah.
Um and that was our introduction to the series. And I don't think the series has ever reached the storytelling highs of Persona 3. Because with Persona 3, the story builds and builds and builds and builds. Whereas we've talked about all the time with Persona 5, dude, there's like major peaks and valleys with the
Yeah.
story in Persona 5 and the pacing. With Persona 3, it's like this never ending, like slow climb up the hill. And then by the time, if you do it right, if you play the game right, by the time you get to the end, like it's a massive battle, and it's really really awesome. Where Persona 3, and I think you would agree with this, struggles is with being the first of its kind of game,
Yeah.
and the fact that it expects you to grind through Tartarus as far as you can each month, and if you don't do that, you have a massive workload in front of you
Yeah.
at the end of the game, which is where me and you both struggled with Persona 3. But would
Yes.
you agree that up until that point, the pacing of the game was pretty phenomenal and you were having a blast?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Until I ignored Tartarus and got kicked right in the dick.
Yeah,
I so this is gonna come as a bit of a controversial take coming from me, but I feel as though the Persona series has stagnated a bit.
I would agree with
Um,
that.
I I'll be honest, like I'm over the high school student aesthetic. Like I'm just kind of over it. Like I don't want to do it again. Not that I loved Persona 5 and like obviously I love Strikers because I beat it. So it's not like an issue with the characters, but I just feel like that series needs when 6 comes out, that series needs to like have a fresh look at it. Like give me a game where we're not in the high school setting, it's just normal people. Give me so I like the contemporary setting, and then give me more Persona users that are enemies. Like I don't get why they don't do that because every time they've had an enemy Persona user, it's been great.
Well, that was Persona 3, right? Like you had the
Yeah,
whole squad
Strega.
of
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and that was pretty sweet. And then you had the detective in 5 who
yeah,
was that was awesome, you know?
yeah. So like, give me one where there's like an actual like I don't know. I just feel like I think they need to explore that more, and I'm really
I agree.
hoping with Metaphor Refantasio that that's like, oh, that's your other type of like. I hope that that's not what they're gonna do, and they're just gonna keep Persona like a certain way. But I feel like that's what's gonna happen. But
Where do you
yeah,
I don't I'm struggling with Metaphor. I don't fuck with Metaphor like at all. I'm really having a hard time understanding the hype of Metaphor Refantasio
I would have
because
to play more of it.
I just there's something about it and about like the theming and the art that really turns me away from the game. And I don't know what it is, but there's
It's just
something that's just very off about it.
because it feels like Franken Persona. Like that's kind of what it
Yeah,
feels like. It
kinda.
feels like a mishmash of like it just feels like a blend of Shin Megami Tensei and Persona in a fantasy or in a dark fantasy type setting. Like so, I would have to play more of it to see how it pans out because like I feel like this game's getting a ton of praise, but it does strike me as like I just said, SMT plus Persona with a new coat with like a fresh coat of paint, and
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll see. All right, number 14, Skies of Arcadia.
Never played it.
I played a little bit of it. Too grindy for me. I don't know. So I'll say that I just wasn't a fan of how much grinding in this game there was. 13.
I know people love Skies of Arcadia. It's all I'll say.
I know it's a beloved game, but like I just I will say play the Legends version on a emulator or if you have it on GameCube. But yeah, because the Dreamcast version is like very vanilla. Dragon Quest number 13. I feel like this game kind of like revitalized Dragon Quest a little bit.
I think Dragon Quest XI is nearly flawless.
Yeah, I really like it.
Here's what I will say. I have not beaten the game, and I have heard the second half of the game is a huge downturn for the pacing. Because the game is apparently like 200 hours long, and you almost in the second, from what I hear, the second half of the game, like the second half of that 200 hours, is you pretty much replaying the game from scratch, like a time travel situation.
Nah.
Yeah, and this is like a weird thing that keeps popping up in JRPGs that people do not. Maybe Japanese people love it, but this happened in Bravely Default, right?
Yeah.
And people hated it. And there was another game it was on the tip of my tongue. And I just lost it. That did the same thing. But then Dragon Quest XI does this, and people apparently hate this idea that you beat the game once, and then the post game is you beating the game again.
Nah,
getting the good ending.
Nah, not for me. I beat a game once, we're out. Yeah. Nah, I really like Dragon Quest 11. I will say, I think the things that keep me out of Dragon Quest, and maybe this is just me being like an edgelord or something, but like the stories aren't like. I come to JRPGs for the stories, not the gameplay. Really, like gameplay's right. Key as well, but the story's got to hook me. And if the story doesn't hook me, then. But Dragon Quest 11, like the mechanics are fun. I like the side quests a lot. But what's up with 12? Speaking like. What,
you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's real weird vibes on that. But anyway, number 12, Chrono Cross. What's there to be said? Great fucking game.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm curious to see what's ahead of it now, but great game.
Chrono Cross being number 12, I'm surprised to see it because I feel like Chrono Cross doesn't get its flowers a lot of times. But I mean, here are the facts. Chrono Cross is a beautiful art. Chrono Cross has one of the best soundtracks of all time.
Oh yeah.
Chrono Cross has a really fun, engaging battle system that can be as shallow or as deep as you want to engage with it. And I think it's got a really cool story. As far as like the character rating goes, I think it could be deeper. I would really like to know more of the characters' motivations and whatnot. But we're PS1 era, right? So we don't really have deep, engaging writing like that in most games. I think Chrono Cross deserves its stance. Now, I personally like Chrono Cross more than Chrono Trigger. Yeah. That is not an objective opinion, though. I can sit here and understand that I think Chrono Trigger has to be on this list at a higher spot than Chrono Cross.
Yes. I feel like it's just like one of those things that you encountered people who like JRPGs who've never played Chrono Cross, but like it's just like or Chrono Trigger. It's like widely accepted that it's like probably the greatest one of all time. It's like I feel like it's this one hurts, but I agree with it.
Number 11, the Trail Series.
Number 11. Well, because again, ahead of Chrono Cross, like I really loved Chrono Cross. Like when we played Chrono Cross, it was like I was like, well, this is like one of the best games I've ever played. But all right. Well, I have one issue with this list because if they do what I think they're gonna do, then they did this with Trails. Then all right. But so they're saying the Legend of Heroes, the Trails series. So yes.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You can't do that. Why does Trails get an exception? Listen, we love Trails. I have a whole Trail shrine over here, right? We're Trails guys. We've been banging the drum on Trails for a long time. Why does Dragon Quest get a single entry? Final Fantasy so far has a single entry. Persona get a single entry. And then all of a sudden it's the Trails series?
Yeah,
we got an issue.
Yeah, that's kind of not fair. Like, I don't think that's fair, but yeah, if you take the sum of the entire Trails series, yes, it'll be ahead of a lot of games. But yeah, I mean, there's specific ones that we like. Check out our episode of when we rank the Trail series if you want to know more. But we really love the Trail series. Great masterclass of world building, character development, banger soundtracks, great gameplay, and all from Little Falcom.
Yep.
Little engine that could. Okay. Oh, okay. Number 10, Shadow Hearts Covenant. Never played
No.
it. Have you
No.
played it? No.
Yes, I have played. I haven't beaten it, but to put Shadow Hearts Covenant above all the other juggernauts that we've talked about previously, this is a guy that the person who made this list, or the group that made this list, deeply were fans of Shadow Hearts Covenant. There's no way that Shadow Hearts Covenant worms its way into the number 10 greatest RPG of all time above all the other ones. You know, like there's
ahead of the Trail series.
Ahead of the Trail series, Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy, Persona. Like, get out of here, dude. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's a fine game. It's fun. But it's
Hmm.
no.
Number 9, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete. I like Lunar a lot. I do. I don't know if I would rank it. Like, to me, Lunar would be closer to where they had closer to 15 for me.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't played much of it. Only a little bit of it.
Well, I mean, are you gonna? I'm probably gonna snag it when it comes out on new consoles, just so I can play it on my nice TV instead of my.
It looks like it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, instead of playing it on my Sega CD that the laser keeps dying on. So, yeah. All right, Grandia 2, number 8. Great fucking game. Great fucking game. Number 8, hot take. I agree. I feel like that game's also in that mid-range 15 range for me. But great fucking game.
Well, I also feel like is it widely accepted that Grandia 2 is better than Grandia 1?
No.
Yeah, which is where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I feel like Grandia 2 is like people like Grandia 2, but when you say Grandia, like it's like people are the Grandia, the first one. Shout out to Grandia 3 though. No one ever talks about Grandia 3.
I never played.
Love that. That's my favorite one. Number 7, Radiant Historia. I never played this. I have it, but I've never played this.
It's fine.
But not top 7 on an all-time list. Fine.
It's not. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a Shadow Hearts Covenant situation. Someone's a big fan of Radiant Historia, and they let themselves worm Radiant Historia into the top 10. It's good. It's good. Its plot is fleeting in the background of constantly traveling through different timelines to get around puzzles and whatnot, and it's fine.
Okay.
People were like, "Oh, it's the spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger." No, it's not.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's not.
Don't do that. You know what I start doing? I start hating when games do that because wasn't like Sea of Stars supposed to be like inspired by Chrono Trigger? Like, don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. Stop doing that. It's not fair to the games, to be honest. It's not fair to the game that's coming out. Stop doing that.
Can't be doing that. No.
Yeah. All right. Number 6, Chrono Trigger. I mean,
should be in the top 3.
Yeah. So, I mean, the art style, number 1, story, the mechanics. I don't really know how much more flowers we can give Chrono Trigger. If you haven't played Chrono Trigger, do yourself a favor, at least play it. Memorable characters. I haven't beaten it, but I've played it. No, I haven't beaten it, but I've played enough of it. Great game. I love it. It's fun. The multiple endings are awesome. Combat is revolutionary for the time. I don't think I can say anything bad about Chrono Trigger, except stay the fuck away from the PS1 port. That port's a piece of shit.
That's how I played it. That's how I played it and beat it.
You had no choice, though.
Yep, you're right. I had no choice.
I think the Steam port's bad, too, right?
The best port is for the DS.
Which is expensive.
We've never gotten it anywhere else. So get your shit together, Square Enix. Give us Chrono Trigger with the Octopath treatment. We all know you're doing it. We all know you're fucking doing it. Just do it.
You know what's crazy? They treat this game with like kid gloves. They don't talk about it.
No.
They don't acknowledge it. They don't fuck around. They once famously said the word Chrono and something else and caught mad smoke. Yep. They were like, this is like one of those games that like even higher than Final Fantasy VII being remade. Like this is like above the CEO's desk, break in case of emergency.
Yes.
And this is one of those games like you meet in the boardroom is like we don't fuck this up. We cannot fuck this up
Yeah. The
because
way to do it is to give it like the Star Ocean
yeah,
second story treatment, the
yeah,
Octopath treatment.
yeah,
That's how you do it.
yeah. Because if you fucking dare do what you did to Secret of Mana with this, you're dead. Like dude. That Secret of Mana remake that they did with fucking PS4 was awful.
Disgusting.
Dude, I like stare at it on my shelf in disgust like all the time. Like I wish I didn't have it.
Number 5. Go to number 5, Pedro.
Oh. How do you feel about that?
I feel like you can make the argument. I feel like you can make the argument that Xenogears is better than Chrono Trigger.
Oh. I will say Xenogears has been great. I think I'm like 10 hours in, maybe less than that, but I've loved every second I've played of it.
My biggest issue with Xenogears is the slow text.
Yeah.
The slow text. I don't have a problem with the ending. I don't.
Or I guess how they ended it because of the time constraints, I guess, is always
They did what they had to do.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a 30-minute sequence in a 50-hour RPG.
Yeah.
That skips over like a dungeon and a half because they didn't have enough time to put it in the game. Fuck off. All right. I hate when people say that. Like, oh, the second disc is so bad. It's fine. Just sit there, eat your popcorn or whatever, and read the text. Relax. Shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, because like honestly, and this is coming from me, I'm a Metal Gear guy. Like we let Metal Gear get away with that bullshit all the time. Like relax.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 5 wasn't even finished. Let's go.
Yeah. Fucking Metal Gear Solid 4 is basically a movie. Like
yeah, there you go.
But yeah, no, I really like Xenogears. The story is like right up my alley. I'm like, oh, I like this. And I love the JRPG with a nice mature themes and yeah.
It's gonna ramp up even more. The further you get into Xenogears, the more obsessed you're gonna be with
it. I can't fucking wait.
And Xenogears has, in my opinion, the greatest side quest of any JRPG ever. There's a whole hidden area in Xenogears that you go towards the end that blew my whole fucking face off.
I'll have to make sure to be paying attention to that.
Yes.
All right. So number 4, I don't know. Yeah, that's tough. Number 4, Persona 5 Royal.
How can you
see? Yeah, I agree. I immediately had the same problem you did. So again, you gave Trails 1 entry, but you gave Persona multiple.
Okay, how do you?
Where's the consistency there? You can't do that.
I don't see how you can rank this over Persona 3.
Yeah, and then the game. Well, that and then I don't know how you rank Persona 5 ahead of Chrono Trigger and Xenogears.
I can see someone making the case that Persona 5 Royal is the greatest JRPG of the modern era. I can see that.
I'm sorry, I scrolled ahead, but
I don't know. Persona 5 Royal being at number 4. I don't. Persona 5 Royal, phenomenal game, great game. Not ranked this high. Number 6 to 10 somewhere, in my opinion.
Hey Seth, why don't you read number 3 for us?
What? What fucking edgelord put Nocturne at number 3?
Oh man! All right.
I mean, you're the one that's beaten Nocturne, right? So you give me your opinion on it.
All right. So this is gonna be a hot take. I don't like Nocturne. I don't like Nocturne at all. It's a very average game. I would say Digital Devil Saga is exponentially better than Nocturne. And the thing that everyone remembers Nocturne for is for fucking Dante. That's it.
Sure.
Dante just so happened to be a side character, and it was cool. It's fun to get Dante in your party and use Ebony and Ivory and all his attacks. It's fun. It's great fun. But with these SMT games, and you cannot... I will make the argument you cannot put any mainline Shin Megami Tensei game as an all-time great game because they're all structured the same. It's like Edgelord Dragon Quest. It really is. They're grind heavy, but they only follow 3 paths. Law being the siding with God, Chaos siding with Satan, or Lucifer, and then the middle, which is neutral, which is supposed to be the canon path. But from a narrative perspective, these games have never been, master class stories like you would get like in a Persona game. So I struggle to put that game specifically on any all time list. Like, it's a great game, like it's fun, but like I'm not like, what are we doing here? So yeah,
I would
that's
argue
where I
that,
stand.
and I've probably put 10 hours in Nocturne. I would argue the story doesn't even make fucking sense. Like,
Not really.
I'm playing through it. And I'm like, wait, so what the fuck is going on here? And it plays like a fever dream. It plays like something that wasn't supposed to make sense. I don't know.
No.
I don't like Nocturne either. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm not a big Nocturne fan. My favorite SMT mainline game is SMT4. I think that was like the best mainline game, and I'll stand on that. 4 and 4 Apocalypse are great. Yeah, but Nocturne, I feel like it's memorable because of Dante. Also, Nocturne is like balls fucking hard.
I'll never forget, dude. Like, I was in like a gaming slump, and I was trying to figure out what to play next. And me and you were living together, so I
Yeah.
put on Nocturne and I was playing it. And you walked in and you like laughed at me. You're like, "Oh, buddy, no, this isn't the game for you right now. This isn't gonna happen." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
I knew, man. Because I just like Nocturne is one of those games like I and here's the thing. With the remaster that came out, don't buy the Switch port. Piece of shit. Runs like ass.
No
So
one should buy a Switch port of anything.
yeah, because my experience with 4, I'm like, oh, I really liked having an SMT that was portable. I'm in. So I bought it on fucking Switch and got kicked in the nuts. Also, they fucking charge you for the Dante DLC, which pisses me off to no end.
That's really
Because,
annoying.
well, here's my issue with it. They're like, so if you don't buy the Dante DLC, right, to get Dante in instead of fucking that douchebag Raido Kusunawa, they're like, oh, this is the international version. I'm like, okay, if you did that outside of the US, I'm fine. I'm with it. Outside of the US, they didn't get Dante, but here in the United States of fucking America, in the real world, we got Dante. So you have to put Dante.
I agree.
Like, you can't do that. So yeah, no, I don't agree with Nocturne being on this list. So sorry, all 3 of you Nocturne fans. Yeah, this ain't it. Am I missing something here? Where's the rest of the list?
Well, number 2 is the Suikoden series.
Where do you see that? I don't see it.
I just scrolled down.
Yeah, mine stops at 3.
Number 2 is the Suikoden series.
So they're back to that bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at
No,
all.
not at number 2. Not at number 2.
Suikoden's overrated, dude.
I hear Suikoden 2 is phenomenal. Haven't played them.
Is it phenomenal? Is it?
That's what I hear.
Or does it just have so many characters that like people like the variety and choice and like all that?
I don't understand, dude. I don't understand.
Overrated.
People have been giving Chrono Cross shit my whole life for having too many characters, but they praise Suikoden for it. Why? What is the difference? What is the difference?
Now, I will preface this. I've never played Suikoden 2, but like I've played the other Suikoden games and didn't really like them. Like, I didn't like Suikoden 3, hated Suikoden 4, Suikoden 5 sucks. So like maybe it's just my opinion on the Suikoden series or Suikoden. But when you have too many characters, and I would struggle to believe that over 100 characters are all written uniquely. Like, if that type time went into a game, like I'd struggle to believe that that's the case. But yeah, I don't know. I just find the Suikoden series to be overrated personally. Hot take.
Number 1 is Final Fantasy VII. Now, the name of this list is the 22 best turn-based JRPGs of all time. Best. Not greatest, not legendary, best. Final Fantasy VII is not the best turn-based JRPG of all time. It is in my opinion
most memorable,
the greatest.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, greatest and legendary are different than best. Best indicates like the current number 1, right? Which I would say, if that's the case, the current number one has to be like Dragon Quest 11, Persona 3
Yeah.
Reload, Yakuza. You know, you can make an argument for like Trails into Daybreak.
Yeah.
Um, it's not Final Fantasy 7. Huge Final Fantasy 7 fan. If this was the greatest JRPGs of all time, that I'm there, right? But best, it's not the best.
Yeah, a bit of a stretch. Um, I get this is one of those games that like it's gonna top number one on a lot of people's lists for a lot of reasons. So for us to sit there and like give this game its flowers, it's like kind of already been said. I will say it's the most memorable of the bunch. I feel like it's the Final Fantasy that's probably aged the best and will always age the best. Like I feel like that story will translate in any time. Like even fucking 50 years from now, people will still love Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah.
It is the only game in the Final Fantasy series where all the most of the spin-offs and like sequels, I guess, have been beloved as well. Like minus Dirge of Cerberus.
And by the way,
That
I loved the Cerberus when I was a kid. Absolutely loved it.
I never played it. Um,
It's stupid.
yeah, I watched like Let's Plays of it. I was like, yeah, okay, like, good thing we punted on that one. But I just feel like with this game, like, I don't know, just like everyone, I like. There's no characters that anyone like. I don't remember anyone hating any specific character. I think it maybe Cat Sith or is the one that people don't like the most. I
Yeah.
think he get they or it or I don't know even what to call Kate Sith because it's a robot.
What's a
But
he?
oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Wait, do you not know? Do you not remember the story of Kate Sith?
Well, I know the person controlling him is a he, but I didn't know like if they
Oh, well, that's what
gendered
I
the
was talking
specific.
about.
Oh, okay, I was like, but yeah, ironically, in Rebirth, he was like in my main party because Cage just fuck shit up. He does, dude. He does like a shit ton of damage if you build him right. Which I had a feeling when I looked at his gameplay, I'm like, I guarantee he's the one who does a fuckload of damage because they
He's the
always
broken one.
like,
I never played him.
yeah, they always fucking do that with like those weird characters, like even like old Final Fantasy, like the blue mages, or is like the ones that get OP as fuck, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to put the work in, you got to put the leg work in.
Sure.
So yeah, no, I've grown to love Final Fantasy VII. I used to be a Final Fantasy VII like discreditor until I like really replayed it and then played Crisis Core, which is a sad boy energy game. And then obviously the remakes, have been great thus far. But yeah, I could see this being number one. I don't know if I necessarily agree with greatest or best, I guess. But if this was like a greatest, then yeah, sure. Like I'm with you on that. So
Yep.
thoughts on the list, Seth?
I think there's a lot of great entries there. Uh, needs rearranged, needs consistency.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And then you're straight full of shit with Nocturne being 3. Like that's
Yeah,
wild to me.
yeah.
Wild.
A couple of them, Shadow Hearts needs to be kicked.
Yeah.
We gotta hammer out what's the difference between a series and individual entries. But I don't know if someone's see the nice thing about lists like this is it's people are looking for a new JRPG to play, so they pop up these lists. I think that someone does that, they're gonna come across like a lot of good games.
Yeah.
They can find.
Yeah.
So is it accurate? No, it's not accurate.
Mm.
But it's
Yeah.
I give the gamer list of greatest JRPGs of all time, or I'm sorry, the best JRPGs of all time, a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Special fuck you to Adam Sessler. But anyway. Um, Yeah, speaking of which, so since we're on the topic of lists, so in the next episode of Alpha Nerds, we will be doing the Alpha 25. We're going to curate our own fucking list. One could say this could make or break us, buddy. We may
Is
disagree.
it one list between the two of us, or is it each of our 25?
Ooh, how do you want to do it? Like, because if we do one list between the two of us, I feel like we could be there a while because but it may be a fun debate.
I don't know. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll have to workshop that. But yeah, I'm not opposed to us doing it either way. But I think the more fun one would be a list that we have to agree upon. All right.
I agree.
All right. Running through quick misconducts. So we don't need to cover all of them because some of them are just dumb. Because I already talked about the Yakuza one. Uh, Sony shutting down for good Firewalk Studios shouldn't shock anybody, right? Like the fact that this game is people are like, oh, they fucking shut them the fuck down. Well, yeah, their game fucking came out and flopped. The fuck you mean?
If I cost my company $400 million, I would be
You'd be
fired.
dead.
Yep. Yeah, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah, you'd be fucking sitting there in the Susquehanna with fucking cinder blocks on your feet, pal.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Fucking Clinton County mob, son. All right. Yeah, I don't get it. Sucks people lose their jobs, but again, you got to be accountable. Like this game came out and flopped.
Yes.
And again, I also blame Sony. Like this game, nobody wanted this game. I don't know if this game, like any focus groups were run on this to see what the vibes were, but like literally, there's only been one hero shooter that's come out and been beloved, and only one, right, that I'm aware of. Because every other one that came out, Battleborn and fucking what was the other one that came out? Paragon or some shit from Epic.
I would consider Apex Legends a hero shooter.
Yeah, I guess.
Apex Legends is pretty widely beloved.
So we'll scratch that too. But every other hero shooter that's come out with the Overwatch vibes just fucking fell flat on its fucking face. So I do think I don't see. I mean, I guess that someone would have to explain it to me because maybe this game was so hated that maybe they just didn't want to bother with it. But I'm shocked they just didn't make it free on PS Plus. Like, here, play it if you don't. Maybe they just felt like paying for the servers isn't worth it for people not to fucking want to play this. But I'm also shocked that like outcry from the community didn't honeydick Sony into fucking up. Famously with the PS. Well, yeah, that and the PS Store. Like sometimes, like Sony's one of those companies that their fans can bully them into things.
Well, there was people trying to do the Morbius thing again with Concord. There was a thing going around. What it's called? Petition saying release Concord again. We were all busy that day, which is famously what they did with Morbius, which I think is so funny.
It was so mean, though.
Yeah, it was mean,
but funny as fuck. And then somebody's like, "No, you're not getting us again, fuckers." So, all right. So
we were all busy that day.
Like, come on. Oh man, Firewalk. We hardly knew ye. Good luck to everyone getting new jobs. Tough look to say. Like I did UI on Concord. Did you? Couldn't tell.
Sorry, pal.
That's fucking rough. Speaking of Apex Legends dropped Steam Deck support over rampant cheating.
Yes, Apex Legends has been a target of cheaters for a long time.
Why can't I guess if you play Apex competitively, maybe you would care, but like, why? What the fuck is the point of logging onto a game that's competitive to just fucking cheat? Like, that's not fun. Like, you're not like unless you're just a fucking troll. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
I don't know. I've tried to figure this out as well. Like, why people cheat at competitive shooters and like the controller mods that and whatnot. And I'm like, doesn't that kind of take away from like the victory though? You know, like
yeah, like you didn't win, you cheated.
I wouldn't feel good about like winning an Apex match if I knew that I had a significant advantage over everybody else.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
I agree. Yeah, it's super sus, man. All right, last one is on said misconduct list is all right. Real quick rant. So I recently today picked up a CRT TV because I was in Williamsport, and sometimes I get on Facebook Marketplace and see what's the vibe of like picking up another CRT just have as a backup in case something happens to my main one. You gotta start now that I have the room for it. Might as well accumulate a couple backups. So I pick this one up, and I'm gonna send you a photo of the before and after. The before photo. So it wasn't a big one. And then this is what it looked like after Daddy got his hands on it. So I feel like she cleaned up real nice. I still have to see if it works. I don't know if it works yet. I haven't tested it yet.
Okay. Oh yeah, wow, you did a good job.
And the other thing is like it's cool. It was a CRT because I really picked it up. So like, okay, it'll have S video. I can play my light gun games on it. Mm-hmm. But when I turned it around, it has component output on it. So
wow.
So yeah, so I've never seen a TV like that. And this TV, when you go on eBay, this TV goes for like $200. So I was like, all right, let's come up. So I posted it in the CRT collective chat, just to kind of see if anyone knew anything about these TVs, like because again, I'd never seen a TV like that. And I also, if you look at the Alpha Nerd Facebook page, I made a post bitching about in our area some of the pricing on CRT TVs. Because again, anyone who doesn't know what a CRT TV is, they're the old box TVs that we grew up with that have the CRT technology. They're old, they're bulky, they're heavy. People generally don't want them, but in the retro gaming community, they're coveted, but usually only specific ones are coveted, um, not every CRT TV. But recently, you're seeing that if you just attach the word CRT to something, then all of a sudden people think they have something worth a ton of money. So one of the TVs listed was a Sony Trinitron old CRT listed for $120. Another one was a Sanyo, smaller than the one I gave you, by the way, listed for $100. A Westinghouse, which is famously a shit brand back in those times, a 13-inch TV for $75, and then a Slovenia box TV listed for 175, and then a Sony Trinitron, which is smaller than what I have, a 36-inch, plus the stand for $200. And again, these are old, boxy, heavy TVs.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. How do they even ship them?
I don't know. I don't know how you ship that, but all these were local pickups. So I in the post I specifically stated, look, man, CRTs in my area suck, and people are like, oh, you just don't understand the economics of supply and demand. And I was like, okay, fuckface, hold on. Basic economics isn't that hard to understand. It's not. An idiot can understand supply and demand. If there's less of a supply of something and people really want it, yeah, you can charge more money for it, sure. But what also people don't, if we want to talk supply and demand, you don't take into effect externality cost. So you got to fucking, if you don't have a truck, and unless you're fucking a power lifter, you're going to have to get somebody to come help you, rent the U-Haul, get a dolly. So that's cost right there. Gas, going into someone's house, lugging it out, lugging it into your fucking house. Like, all that has to factor in as to whether this TV is going to be worth over $100 for that. Because a lot of the time, if you just look hard enough, like I did, you can get them for free.
Yeah, sure.
So and this is why this is why the underbelly was even invented, because sometimes like the collector community is full of the most fucking toxic douchebags, and specifically the amount of gatekeeping in CRT in like the CRT realm is fucking horrific. So if you go on a CRT forum and you post like an HD CRT, you're gonna get shamed. Like, people hate HD CRTs, even though like they're the best for watching movies, ironically enough, because of the color temperature and stuff like that. And for the like the Wii, Xbox, the 360, the Wii U, the PS3, like those TVs are what those games were designed to be on. So anyway, and then if you post anything other than a Sony Trinitron, then people are like, oh, well, it's not a Trinitron. That's like the top tier. That's the only thing that matters. So I fucking hate gatekeeping, and specifically when we're talking about these old fucking TVs that you are a dime a dozen.
Sure.
I can't. And then we apparently live in an area that is full of fucking resellers, which is also insane. Like, I don't understand why.
Because we're in rural Pennsylvania.
I don't get it. Like, where are all these people? Like, where's the demand for these TVs, as people say?
There's so few retro gamers in our area. Like,
yeah, it doesn't make sense. And like, again, these TVs are bulky, they're heavy. People usually can't give these TVs away. Usually, it only takes like a fucking idiot like me or other collectors who like these types of TVs to fucking collect them. So if you're fucking one of these douchebags fucking on forums telling people their TV that's old and out of date sucks, go fuck yourself. Just go fuck yourself. Special, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, go fuck.
All right. Anything in closing, buddy? That grinds my gears.
No, I don't have anything. What about you, bud?
I've got nothing in closing. That gamer rant list, Nocturne being 3 is bullshit. I should have put them on the misconduct list. That's fucking horrible. And then if you're going to spread misinformation about people that you don't know based on random accounts leaking that you don't have, don't be a fucking douchebag. This boys that. Don't be a fucking douchebag. That's all I got to say. Don't be a dick. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. When in doubt, square up, throw down. Don't be a douchebag. Have a good night.